Welcome to the show, guys. Hey there, business owners, directors, and marketeers. In today's show, I'm meeting Paul Lilienthal. I'm Lucas, your host as always, and I want to tell you a little bit about Ben before we jump into the show. So he is the co-founder and CEO of ScreenMeet. It's a cloud-native SaaS co-browse and remote software for support purposes. It's basically being used by SaaS companies, mobile carriers, and handset, as well as PC manufacturers. So I like the tagline that they have this: ScreenMeet is basically the future of remote support, but today. So Ben, I'm really happy to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thanks, Lucas. Nice to be here.
Very, very cool. So maybe tell us in your words about ScreenMeet. What is it all about?
Yeah, ScreenMeet is the cloud version of remote support software that you've probably used in the past, like TeamViewer or LogMeIn. What we did and the opportunity that we're pursuing is to be the cloud disruptor of that desktop software category.
Mm-hmm. Very, very cool. Could you tell us a little bit what that means in sort of, in terms of features and specific, just maybe a high level overview of what makes that your product fit for that purpose really well?
Yeah, great question. From a user perspective, the problem that ScreenMeet solves is the same problem that the existing desktop predecessor solved, which is I need to get on my customer or employee's PC, phone, website, or app and fix it for them. The way that ScreenMeet does that is radically different than how the desktop incumbents do it. We do it through a cloud-native model, which means that for the support agent, the person in the call center or at the IT help desk, they just go to a website to use ScreenMeet and to take over the remote device or remote web browser session.
Yep.
Instead of having desktop software that they need to use.
Gotcha.
The other differentiator about our model is because we're cloud native, we run in a bunch of data centers all over the world. And when you do a session on ScreenMeet, you're just going to the closest data center to run your session. It could be in Bangalore, it could be in Bombay, it could be in Beijing. It doesn't matter to us. It's just based on the closest physical location to the end user.
Right.
And so that's part of the beauty of the cloud. You can increase the experience, reduce latency. And then the final differentiator, so it has all of the same features and functionality, probably more than what the incumbents have, but because it runs in a browser for the support agent, it can be seamlessly, and it is in fact seamlessly integrated into large CRM and ITSM platforms like Salesforce, ServiceNow, Zendesk, and Microsoft Dynamics. So it just looks like a button inside of your CRM. So now the support agent doesn't have to leave their workflow, go do a WebEx, and then come back and say, oh, I did a WebEx with Lucas and fixed his computer. All of that workflow, all of the session information, all of the data is captured in the case. So now the customer has an audit trail. They can run auditing, they can run analytics. When the next agent comes to pick up the case, all of that data is already there for them.
Super, super interesting. Can you maybe give us one or two sentences about how this sort of idea, model, and concept got born in the first place? Because, I mean, it's a very interesting shift to what has been there currently.
Yeah, no, thank you. Well, I previously sold a company to GoToMeeting and worked there for a couple of years. The company that I sold them is the audio platform. So if you've ever been on a GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar, the idea that you could, either call in over your computer or call in over the phone 10 years ago was kind of revolutionary. I know that's hard to believe. But so as we were integrating the audio into their screen sharing, I sort of realized, hey, when you guys built this, and just like when the people who built WebEx, and servers were really expensive, right? The cloud didn't really exist. You couldn't just go rent a server from AWS for $100 a month. So the architecture of the desktop first generation products was, let's do as little as possible on the server, and let's use as little bandwidth as possible, because both of those things are really expensive. Fast forward to I left Citrix, which owned GoToMeeting. They then merged with LogMeIn, and I sort of revisited the opportunity about 5 years ago, and I said, well, nobody has re-platformed this experience in the cloud, so let's go do that. As we were doing that, we discovered that actually somebody had re-platformed the meeting experience in the cloud, and it was Eric and the team at Zoom. So we said, well, there's another category of products here called remote support that no one's touched. So we're going to go do that. And that's, that's how we ended up in this business.
Very fascinating, very interesting. And what would you say are then today the typical types of companies? You mentioned already, CRMs might have integrated sort of this support functionality through you guys. Could you tell us a little bit more about the types of companies that are using your product?
Yeah, sure. So the largest technical services organization in the world is a PC manufacturer in the US, down in Texas. They're a customer. They have over 10,000 support agents using ScreenMeet inside of their CRM, Salesforce, and ITSM ServiceNow instances. So anybody who makes PCs is should be a customer. The world's largest PC maker is a customer.
Yep.
Software companies who have to support SaaS applications or desktop applications are customers. Let's see, 8x8 is a phone company here in Silicon Valley when they have to do technical support with their customers. OpenTable uses us not for the consumer, but for the restaurant. Hey, my reservation system has issues. I need to get, within the context of Salesforce, I need to get on the restaurant's computer quickly or easily, or I need to get on their iPad that they have in the front of the office. Some large franchise organizations like Choice Hotels. I'm the Econo Lodge front desk person, and I'm having issues running someone's credit card. I call back to corporate for IT support. So you can see Worldwide Express is a big shipping company.
Yep.
So just this idea of anybody, and as more and more and more of the business world goes online, this idea that I want to quickly and easily get on your machine, see what's going on, fix it, have it all in my CRM, so I have one single pane of glass where I can see everything, and then move on to the next problem. Tons of software, mid-size enterprise software companies in all sorts of industries, from architecture to, telecom.
Really, really good. That gives us a really good picture. So I would be curious then, sort of as a follow-up on that, how would a client or any of those businesses typically, end up being a client? What would be their typical user journey in order to, start working with you guys?
Yeah. So generally, they're already using a remote support tool. So if you're listening to this podcast and you use LogMeIn, BombGuard, TeamViewer, GoToAssist, stop and go to ScreenMeet.com and contact us. But in addition to using a support tool, they also have now fully completed their CRM deployment. So they have their Zendesk instance up and running, or they have their Salesforce instance, or their ServiceNow, or their Microsoft Dynamics. And so what they're saying is, okay, now that I've moved my ticketing system to the cloud, why am I still using legacy remote support software that's non-integrated with my ticketing system?
Yep.
And then once they kind of make that connection, it's a no-brainer, right? If I can do what I've already been doing, but do it in a more integrated, web-based, seamless way, of course I want to do that. Of course, everyone will do that. It's not an if, it's a when.
And how would,
so they either find us in the ServiceNow store, the Zendesk Marketplace, Salesforce App Exchange, or they find us through Google, or they meet us at a trade show.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's a relatively simple process to install the app into their CRM and then start a trial.
Okay, makes total sense. I understand the picture. Could you tell me then the website, what role does that play in sort of, people coming from those different stores potentially? Like what role or how important is the website for you guys?
Yeah, it's interesting because this is really enterprise software. So you can't buy it online.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just give us your credit card and buy $300 worth of ScreenMeet, because that's not really the business that we're in. Mm-hmm. So the website is to provide supporting information, case studies, kind of to be part of more of like an account-based marketing surround, and I don't know what the term is, but it's more of an informative / demand gen than it is e-commerce fulfillment.
100%. It makes total sense, especially sort of the types of clients you've been talking about. And is there still though metrics that you would care about on the website? Because folks could be looking at very different types of metric for the website. Do you still have a couple of metrics that are important for you?
Yeah, I mean, we're always looking for demand gen, right? We want people to say, hey, I want to learn more and do a free trial. And so there are a couple ways that we get folks to do that. Mm-hmm. But historically, our online marketing, because it's enterprise sales, has been lagging. So that's a big area of opportunity for us to do much more online demand gen.
Gotcha. And have you guys been working already on improving sort of the demand or the conversion rate, for that matter, on the website in itself? Some maybe war stories or learnings that you could share?
We're still not very good at it.
That's fine. Okay, cool.
The war story is, we haven't won that battle. We keep fighting it and losing it. But because these are such big ticket sales, 10K to 7 figures, all it takes is 1 or 2 or 3 leads to justify the cost of the investment and the cost of the work.
100%. And how would you qualify them from the website? Because we've been, talking to other enterprise types of companies, and the ways to, qualifying somebody that comes through the website have been very different in the different cases. What's your take on that?
Yeah, we do a very quick and active follow-up. Mm-hmm. So we try and qualify them by doing a call or a demo.
Gotcha. Cool. Very cool. Monaco. Very, very good. Yeah, I would love to switch gears a little bit and ask you a little bit about you personally as a sort of founder. You mentioned a little bit already your history of selling a previous company. Could you tell me maybe back into this first 1 to 10 customers? Could you tell me maybe the first or the second? How did you win them? What were you doing in order to get the first couple of guys?
I was calling everyone I knew. Mm-hmm. We were doing it online. We were standing in trade show booths. We were, you sort of beg, borrow, and steal to get those first customers. There's no right way to do it. It's really, you shake out, You determine the use case, you identify the buyer persona, and then you do everything you can to find somebody who's willing to listen to you and try your product.
Very, very good. So a lot of different. Go ahead.
Like it, if you're a first-time founder, you can't be embarrassed to ask people to try your software. That's your job, you should be embarrassed if you can't get somebody to say yes. But you just keep asking, and eventually people try it, they like it, they help you make it better, and you build on that to get to large customers. But I mean, gosh, our first deal was somebody paying us $20 a month, and we leveraged that into a 7-figure ARR kind of opportunity because we could prove that this had value.
Could you give us an idea of time between those like first customer that you just mentioned to that like later much higher deal?
2 years.
2 years. Very good. Okay.
And
very cool.
And it was 2 years from when we started to when we had a product for the first customer, and then another 2 years to get to some, call it real enterprise deals.
Wow, it's
a long journey. It's a long journey because you're building a full product. You're not building a feature. You're building a full product platform, and so it takes thick skin and sort of a belief that you know what you're doing and stuff like that.
Very, very good. I would love to know, you as an individual founder, like how do you try to be a better founder today than you were yesterday? Is there certain resources, certain, exchange with other types of founders maybe, or books? Like what would be your way to up level?
Yeah. Well, the one book that I think every software executive needs to read is a book by Jeffrey Moore called Crossing the Chasm. It was written back in the late 80s.
Yep.
But I mean, for me, I think I'm just a little more patient and, have thicker skin, right? So when somebody says no, it doesn't hurt my feelings. It just motivates me to get somebody else to say yes. Mm-hmm. But it's sort of having a belief in your conviction and then having the patience and the access to capital to see it through.
Is that something you always had, or is it something you learned over the first couple of years working on that?
Well, I mean, when I was a kid, right? No, when we got started 20 years ago, none of this shit existed, and they weren't handing out $100,000 or $1 million checks to 25-year-old kids who dropped out of college. So what I did was I basically built websites and used that money to fund a software developer to build a product. And so basically I bootstrapped a software company during the first bubble. And so by doing that, you learn that, it doesn't take a lot of money to build a product. What it takes is a lot of time. And so if you're 3 years into a product, even the biggest company in the world can't come behind you and build that same product in 3 months.
Yep.
So it takes sort of a commitment to your vision and just to keep investing in what you believe to be true. Whether that's true or not, that's up for the market to decide.
Yeah. Really.
So the first time I was like, okay, that I don't have a choice because nobody's going to invest or give us money. And now it's like, okay, now that people are willing to give you money, do you actually want that money? Or do you need that money? Or do you just sort of keep that same operating model, just, spend what is necessary and sufficient, but not more?
Yep.
Because, it's all about sort of how much equity can you retain and things like that.
Makes total sense. One last question to wrap it up. Good.
Yeah. So just in conclusion, go be in a hurry, but don't blow yourself up.
Okay, really good. Maybe that ties really much into my last question. The last question would have been, what would be the one advice you would give yourself if you would restart the company today?
This company?
Yep.
Maybe get a little more focused on the user profiles, on the buyer profile, and the kind of, go-to-market segments. It's certainly, if you build it, they will not come, right? You have to go get them. You have to drag them home, and then maybe they'll be interested. So, maybe getting a little more aggressive about the go-to-market sooner rather than later.
Very good. Very good. Cool. Ben, I really appreciate that you gave us an overview of your product, the capabilities, the types of users, then how you were thinking about growth, the different channels, as well as how you've been personally grown as a founder and which sort of traits you have been established to be a founder with that thick skin over a long period of time, being able to push through the product. So thanks a lot for being part of the show today, and thanks for being part of this episode.
Great. Thank you, Lucas. Appreciate it.